Felix, welcome back. Welcome back to our show. Last time we were sat on a lovely sofa in the city. This time we're still working remotely, but thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for the invite, Ben. Yes, that was a long time ago.
It was, it was actually one of our first episodes, I think, that we recorded.
Yeah, I think so. It was probably like episode 2 or something like that. It was one of the early days.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And at that point, and for anyone that's watching or listening now, I recommend going back and listening to that or watching, because that was more around your journey, your career, transitioning into Salesforce, working in consulting. So we covered a lot of those topics in the previous episode, so we won't touch on those today.
Yeah.
So I'm really keen to delve into one of your recent transitions, and as people will know, if they do listen to the previous episode, you have worked or previously worked in consulting for a really long period of time. In fact, all of your career, you had been a consultant. So whether that's working as a Salesforce or consultant or working in Sugar CRM previously, that was always on the consulting side, but you have made the transition into working for an end customer. So that's what I'm keen to explore today. So what was it about that kind of transition and the opportunity to work for a customer that attracted you after many years in consulting?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question, Ben. And yes, as you said, all my career I've actually been in consulting. So straight off uni, I've been in consulting, never really been in an end customer. So this is my first, and I guess one of the reasons why it's very interesting to me was the fact that it's going to be my first experience working for an end customer. It's just something that I would like to experience myself, just to see how it feels like. And secondly, I guess it's really the unique opportunity that came about with this role that I'm in a way that it's basically the opportunity came across as a startup, but with an enterprise mindset. And what that means is, even though they start everything up from the ground up, so I get to basically, put in all my, skills and experience I've done in consulting, just do it right from the get-go. But they have actually, back then we already have the financial backing needed to do this right, as if we are an enterprise. So I guess I don't know if I can find any other opportunity like this. So I'm very, very fortunate that this came about.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds pretty unique, and I guess, like, as you were saying, it was like really from the get-go, like the business. You were joining at a time where there wasn't much there, right? So it was establishing everything from the ground up. And in consulting, you're kind of going into a already formed business in a lot of cases, right?
That's correct. Yeah. So what the benefit of that is, I guess we don't have any baggage to deal with. So it's really starting from a blank sheet of paper and just do it right from the start. And that's actually one of the fun bit that I did in the beginning, just setting up the program, just applying all the different best practices and all the different frameworks that I know works for other customers that I have worked with. And having seen it, basically built from the ground up, and now, a year later, finding out that some of those things that I have put actually works, because, well, that's where I'm still here, so I must have done something right.
Absolutely. So what have you found to be the major differences in terms of your role day to day, and the different styles or challenges and expectations between working in consulting and being employed by a customer that you're doing a project for?
There are a few, I guess. So the first one that's I guess very, very key to me is this idea of decision making is something that, as a consultant, typically, when we need to make any decisions, like, let's say a design decision, I would typically find, all the different options, and I'll come up with the recommendations and why it's recommended, but it's ultimately the client's decision to make. So now that I'm on the other side, I actually have to make those decisions, and I have to live with those decisions. So that's one of the major difference. that I feel. And the other one is it might be because of the current role that I'm in. It's the fact that I'm a team of one, so I don't really have other experts around the CRM, around Salesforce that I can talk to. Whereas in consulting, obviously I have my teams and I have other experts that I can bounce some ideas around. So whereas right now I do have a team in here as well. It's just that I'm the expert around CRM and Salesforce. So I find myself, trying to like get things maybe, from the community more rather than trying to discuss it internally.
That makes sense. And what? So you mentioned obviously you're now living with the decisions you made, and I think that's one concept that we hear quite a lot from people that some people that don't want to work in consulting because they feel they never get to see what they've built. Like they never get to see how that benefits the business.
Right.
How has that made you like appreciative of being able to experience that and be able to go actually through the whole journey and then not leave and actually experience how the business is getting value from something you've built?
Yeah, that's something that's very what's the word? Joyful is one, I guess you can describe it. And because it's like, I know, back in my consulting days, I would say like, put this framework in place. Let's just take an example, release management. Just put in the, this release management processes, put in a CI/CD automation to ensure it works. But then typically you are in the project, you implement that, and then you don't actually get to see whether that works for the client, like in the next year or so. And whereas here is like I put in the same thing. Basically, I put in what I recommended to all my other clients before, and fast forward to today, I can see it actually working. And specifically around this release management, I can't see it being done any other way because if I don't implement what I have right now, which is utilizing CI/CD automation for the most part, I wouldn't be able to perform weekly releases that I currently do. It's just going to be impossible, especially if I don't have an actual team behind me. So that's basically very I'm happy with that actually.
Yeah, nice. And I know quite regularly that when we speak to people and they are considering consulting, they feel that the pace of consulting is so much quicker than working for a customer, and they think that you go through phases, right, with a customer of being your project, then your BAU, and then there's a project and BAU. Whereas with consulting, it's kind of quite consistent. Now, I know obviously you've been in a fast-paced environment and it's startup, but do you think there is a major difference in terms of the workload or the speed and the way in which over a time scale where things are done?
There's definitely some differences there, Ben. Although I would have to say the pace is always constantly changing, at least in the current role that I'm in. I have to say in the beginning where I tried to basically put everything together from scratch. When we try to build the MVP, the pace is very much similar to what you would get in consulting, where here's a project, you just need to run it. And then once it turns into sort of like a BAU type of thing, then that's where it sort of like varies a little bit. And it really depends on the demands from the business. One day it could be like, you're just running just standard BAU without not a lot of things happening. But then the next day it can turn really quickly, especially in the financial services where we need this done, and then suddenly you've got like a lot of people really wanting that specific feature or being able to solve that challenge, and then basically you switch gear again to like, okay, I need to get this done and really solve the business challenges. So
Sure.
so I guess in a consulting, maybe you would find it more consistent in a way that once you finish your project, you probably go into the next project with the same level of sort of like pace. Whereas in my experience here in an end customer, it's when it is the first build, the MVP, that's the same pace. And then when it turns into a BAU, that's where you can't really predict what's going to happen there. And the key for me is just being really flexible and I guess resilient around it.
And in that period of BAU, is that, well, like, how do you keep yourself busy? Because you're coming from consulting where you are used to that pace being consistent. Like, did you find it difficult to be comfortable? And like, it's not, I guess it's not, you're not twiddling your thumbs, right, waiting for work, because I know the environment is busy, but did you find it difficult to like, know what to do with the extra kind of time and peace and I guess less stress that you would have felt during that time?
Right. Yeah, this is a very interesting question, Ben. I did find when in the beginning, I was ready to just, let's do this thing. Let's get everything done. I've tried to plan all my day in 8 hours and trying to get everything done. And then it becomes BAU. Obviously, things don't move that fast, as fast as it was in the beginning. But I guess in a way, I'm kind of fortunate the fact that I am a team of one, which means when I'm not doing things that, let's say, building things as a developer, there are a lot of other things that I need to solve for. So an example, I need to think about the roadmap. What's next for the business, and even so in a way, I never run out of work to do. But there are times where I do get to enjoy, long lunches, I have to say. So, and it was kind of weird for me as well. In the beginning, it's like it's almost I felt guilty having like long lunches. Like this is not normal. But I guess it comes down to when there are demands coming in, and then when I put the estimation and I ensure I hit the target date, and from time to time I do have some spare time to, I guess, enjoy it a little bit.
Yeah, nice.
But yeah, I don't really get, in a sense, I don't really get bored because there are always work that I can put into whenever there is a bit of downtime. And one of those things is I tried as much as possible to keep up with Salesforce product as well, with new announcements, features here and there. Yeah, so I tend to find myself busy.
And you don't have to do timesheets anymore, which I guess is an added benefit.
Oh yes, that's a very good thing for me. So because my time isn't technically billable, so yeah, I don't need to worry about what did I spend my time on, and actually you have to physically enter in timesheet. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that.
You mentioned roadmap, right? So, and you're responsible for devising and delivering that roadmap. Was that because you were in consulting and you were, I guess, guiding and helping companies and customers shape their roadmap, but you weren't responsible for a roadmap, right? That's their responsibility to approve what they want to do and then devise the roadmap and then work with you to deliver it. So when you're doing that yourself, was that challenging to do? Like, was it a new skill you had to learn, or was it something that delivering or building a roadmap is quite straightforward?
Yeah, it's definitely challenging to build a roadmap, especially if it's something that I'm responsible for, not something that I recommend, as in consulting. And I think it's primarily because building roadmap really I need to understand the business really, really well to be able to come up with that roadmap, because I don't think there will be a roadmap that will be similar from one company to another. It's really how the companies have the visions around the CRM, so what it needs to look like, and sometimes it's challenging because especially in my role, I work with a various number of business divisions, and different business divisions would want something different out of the CRM, right? So some might say like this, all I need is just maybe like just a list of my clients. I don't care about the other businesses. But other business might be something different, and the challenge is to get that sort of like organization-wide view, to get all the business aligned with what the CRM should look like, and as part of that is building that roadmap. So in order for everyone to see value in the CRM, you kind of need to build like different blocks here and there to form that sort of like the goal that we want. And although having that experience from consulting definitely helps around what sort of shape the roadmap should look like, but it doesn't really translate into I can't just like copy a template and put it in, and it doesn't work that way. So I have to work with the business, and it's continually evolving as well.
It's understanding priorities, and how far out do you look? Like how long, in your experience, is a roadmap?
I want to say I tend to look like around 1 year, but even here in the financial services industry, I think sometimes 1 year is I don't know if this is correct, but for me it's too far ahead. Sometimes I have to like bring it down to, let's say, 3 months. In 3 months, what we want to be able to do, and I think once I have more of a capacity with the CRM team, then I might be able to look, further down the line, like what's the next 3 years would look like. And I think in order for me to be able to do that, I also need to understand the industry really well and see the trends in the industry. What financial service looks like in the next 3 years. And unfortunately, I haven't really got the luxury of time at this stage. So sometimes I just look like forward in the next 3 months, and while keeping all the, I guess, BAU stuff from a day-to-day basis. I do run weekly releases, so I do think in like sprints in 2 weeks. But whenever I've got time, I look forward to that 3 months, what I need to achieve in 3 months. And when I get more time, then I'll try to look forward even further.
And obviously now, like you said, you need to kind of become an industry expert, which is something you probably never had to do before, because you would go from an airline company into a construction company, and you don't need to go that deep. So are you investing time in learning and going deep into the financial services industry in your own time?
Yes, definitely. I find myself, especially in the beginning, with not knowing a lot about financial services. Even before I start this role, I start basically reading into this. I think there's this website called Investopedia. All the jargons around financial industry, how we make money, how derivatives works, what's equities, what's fixed income, what's debt. So I definitely need to put a lot more effort around that, and it's something that I continually learn every day as well. And because I'm working with the current customer, I do have, I guess, the benefits to be able to work with everyone else and actually like experience it like firsthand to see how this thing works. And I have to say it's not an easy industry to learn. It's not something I can learn overnight, definitely not. And I think it's just like anything else, it's just an experience that I need to continue to gain.
Sure. So now that you're a customer, if you could go back and give a piece of advice to yourself at the beginning of your career as a consultant, what would you tell yourself to do differently for the rest of your consulting career?
The first one, it would definitely be really put yourself in the shoes of your clients. As we've already talked before, being an expert in this industry is really key. So I think, I have to really put myself in the client's shoes and understanding their pain, understanding challenges that they have, but also understanding the industry they're in to be able to come up with, whatever solutions that they have a challenge with. And the second thing is really around this idea of best practice, right? Because everyone always like, what's the best practice? And at the end of the day, best practice is there as a guideline. And yes, we want to aim towards that. But understand that every business is different, so we need to be flexible around what sort of options, what sort of solution options we propose, and it's not always all about best practice. It's about the practice that works for this specific client. And I have to say, even myself right now, I have probably broken a few best practices, especially around release management. And the reason why I do it is obviously I don't really do it just because I can. It's more around just considering here's the best practice, but considering what we have now, what we should do to make it work, and that's how it's basically changing things here and there just to fit to how our business works. And best practice is, again, like I said, it's just a guideline. If I can fit everything into best practice, obviously yes, that's great. But a lot of the time, it's really around just making tweaks here and there to ensure everything works.
That's it's really interesting. I think like it's a very honest answer as well, and I think it's good for people to know that, because I think a lot of people are, you know, as a consultant, they feel that they have to follow best practice because it's best practice, and that's like, I guess that they would be concerned that if they didn't and it comes back that they didn't follow best practice, then how that potentially could be perceived by the client. But like you said, it's not one size fits all, right? You have to take into consideration all of these different variables in all of these different companies, and then advise what's best for them.
Yes, totally agree with that. Yeah.
So what have you learned about working with partners that you kind of weren't aware of before? So if you think about like bringing a partner into a business and giving work out to a partner, what have you kind of, what have you learned? What have you gauged from the experience so far?
The first thing is, obviously, I haven't had any experience dealing with partners because I tend to be the partner themselves.
Yeah.
So it's always in a context of, you know, pre-sales, like I'm trying to, you know, make myself more knowledgeable than the other partners. Whereas now it's all I can say is vetting partner is hard, man. it's not really straightforward with that, because, you know, typically we'll try to find, you know, all these online reviews, you know, what experiences the partner company actually have. And then even looking at, you know, simple as App Exchange review, there's like all of, you know, good star review there. Even if you talk to, you know, some case studies, references, most of the time you'll find everything that's good, right? Because that's, you know, no partners will want to have something that's bad out there, obviously. And I think it's really come down to the individuals that you would be engaged with. So no matter which partner you work with, it's really with the individuals that you will be assigned to, and whether that particular individual actually have the experience and the skills that require in the first place. So to give you an example, you know, even though a partner might say like, you know, we are the expert in, I don't know, implementing product as an example. And I've no doubt, like, you know, the company itself will probably be an expert on this, and they might have people with the specifically to financial services industry. But then when you know, when you're okay with it, yep, let's go with that partner. And then when you actually deal with specific individuals, you know, maybe at that time, the only person that's available from the partner is maybe someone new potentially, or someone that doesn't really have that deep industry experience that you were after. So yeah, at the end of the day, you kind of need to work with your partners, and the key is really making that partnership. If the all, you know, communications you have is just around like, you know, here's his estimate, here's the people that we know, and that's it. I don't think that's like trying to form this partnership. So the partnership is really around, you know, what I can do to help you and what you can do to help me. So
yeah, it makes sense. And do you you mentioned pre-sales before? Do you miss that? Do you miss that element, or do you still see you still get to do pre-sales, but just in a different way, because you're selling the potential of a solution that you can deliver for your customer?
Yeah, I guess you're right. You can put it that way. So do I miss pre-sales? Probably not that much, because I tend to be, I'm more of a practical person, Ben. So I like to, you know, just tell it as it is. You know, if a solution works, I say that solution works. If it doesn't, I won't try to put fluff on it to say like it will work if you do this. I wouldn't put fluff like that. But like you said, so there is still a form of like pre-sales, in the sense that, you know, when we're trying to build that roadmap, sometimes you have to sell the business. Why do I think that's actually going to be beneficial for the business? So that's kind of like pre-sales in a way. It's like pre-solutions in a way.
Yeah. And you mentioned about certifications and like staying on top of what else is happening in the ecosystem. Has that been a struggle, because you have a select number of products or clouds or features that you're using in your day-to-day role, and I'm guessing something like field service lightning is nowhere near something that's on your mind day to day, because I'm guessing it doesn't have a use case in your industry right now, or correct me if I'm wrong, but like, do you still feel the need to be across other things that you're not working with day to day?
This is definitely challenging to keep up with all the various, clouds and products. And again, because I don't have the luxury of time, I tend to just focus on what I have in front of me. So you mentioned field service lightning. I definitely don't know much about field service lightning anymore. I don't follow them, and because we haven't really used them, and I don't really any use case for us to use field service lightning. Yeah, I tend to just follow the clouds like we actually utilize now. What I find myself utilizing more is this the ideas exchange. Typically, in consulting, I just say like, oh, this doesn't work, and well, you can just like push an idea there, but we have another way to do it. But now I find like this doesn't work. Let's put an idea. Let's push for it because I really need this for my business. And yeah, it's really a struggle to find time to keep up of all these things. And yeah, a lot of the time it's really just because I don't have a lot of like free time, right? So when I do, I tend to try to basically focus on DropNet for the business, and rather than trying to find, oh, what's that cool feature in field service lightning, because if I know that's something that we wouldn't use here in the current role, then I sort of find that even though it's good to have that knowledge, but if I don't apply that knowledge, it will just go away. So I don't like doing that pretty much. And in fact, with all the certificates that I've got, unfortunately, some of them I've definitely been lacking. Field service lightning is one. Yeah. I still will find time to maintain my certifications. Because I think right now Salesforce just makes it a little bit easier to maintain them. You just need to complete the Trailhead badges, which I still find like it's an easier form of basically keeping up with what's happening, especially with all these major releases. So yeah, it is a struggle.
And do you value certifications as much as you did previously?
That's a very interesting question. I guess it depends on the context that why you're asking that question. So in terms of building my personal brand, certifications, I still think there is still a place in terms of because again, I'll probably echo when I was coming from SugarSram to Salesforce, the only way I can show that I know my stuff, it's just that I haven't used Salesforce, is through certifications. So I think if I'm looking sort of like from a future standpoint, where let's say if I decide to go back into the ecosystem, being in a consulting company, not really an end customer, then I would say certification is still one of the things that you would look for. So in the context of personal brand, I think there's still a place for certifications. Although I wouldn't go out of my way to just gather all the certifications now. I'll just get things that will be relevant to me. But then in the context of whether certifications still have the value of, say, if you're trying to find, let's say in the context of engaging a partner, whether that's still like a value. For me personally, I actually value experience more than certifications. And it's just I know even from my personal experience, sometimes you've got a lot of experience in one part of the Salesforce product. It's just that maybe you just haven't got time to really get certified, but that doesn't mean you don't know that stuff. And if you go from the flip side, sometimes I don't know if this is a practice for consulting company, but I know some do, that typically we'll try to get certifications first, and then because we have certifications, then we get exposure to those projects that require them. And so it's sort of like a catch-22 kind of problem. So in a way, yes, although you know the theory, but you haven't applied the knowledge, so sometimes you kind of have to like take it as a grain of salt, I guess.
Sure. And my final question, do you think you would be a better consultant now having worked for a customer than if you had never done this role?
Very interesting question. it's definitely a plus for me to have an experience working for an end customer. So I would, especially in financial services, because now I know the pain. I'm living the pain now, and but whether that would make me a better consultant, it's I don't know how to answer that question actually, because I guess we have to first define what better consultant means. If better means, you know, I can deliver projects more successfully, I guess again it depends. You know, if the project is in financial services, then I can apply the experience I have now. So I guess I would have more success implementing that project. But then if you define better as like as an overall broader, I'm better because I've got more experience now that I have worked for an end customer. I guess in a way, yes, because previously this is my first experience working in an end customer. So now I got that in my bag now. So I guess if I go back to the consulting world there, then I can say that I have lived and breathed the pain, and I have tried this solution, that solution, and I kind of can look for things that, you know, might not work or might work. And to circle back to the first discussion we had is hopefully I have some level of expertise in the industry, which helped me become a better consultant, I guess.
Nice, yeah, and I think if you'd have left it with "it depends," I was going to say, isn't that a consulting answer and an architecture answer? So I was going to say you've never lost your consulting skills. Yes. Yeah, I think like having the empathy for the customer right now, you understand, you can put yourself in their shoes, and you can understand, you know, the ramifications of the decisions you make long term are going to affect people, and I think that's now it gives you that kind of insight into taking care and more. Obviously, I know you were a great consultant and you would take care of customers anyway, but you really understand the importance of that because you're now living in those shoes.
That's correct. Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Really, really good to catch up. I'm glad you're really enjoying your role, and really interested to see how things continue to develop and where things go from here. So if anyone wants to pick your brains on life in a customer, is LinkedIn still the best place? Yep.
Can hit me up in LinkedIn. I'm always try to help and always like, you know, challenging questions that sometimes make me think as well. So around how I implement things. So yes, happy to answer questions. Just ping me on my LinkedIn. And awesome. Ben, thank you again for inviting me to your podcast. And I'm very honored to come back to your show actually. It's been a while, and yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, good to catch up. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you.